goodbye, your goodbye. Let me without you. Oh, that you see, I'm not there without you. You took the part that once was my heart. Oh, I not take all of me.
How y'all feeling tonight? Y'all ready? Are y'all ready for revolution?
Oh, yeah.
Are y'all fired up? Yes, sir. Y'all fired up? Yes, sir. Y'all ready to go? Yes, sir. Say we fired up?
Fired up.
Ready to go? We fired up? Ready to go? Learn lines, baby. Yes, sir, Brother Paul. Okay. So who the hell is this guy? About 20 minutes to, maybe about 16 minutes to explain myself here. Well, my name is Ron Hurd II, but I go by R2, C2, H2, the Artemis, and this is the We All Be movement. And also, I go by the name of Brother Ron, and I call myself an artivist. What the hell is an artivist? Well, it's really a person who's an artist and an activist, a person that uses his or her talent to affect social change and social justice. People that we think are artivists in our community, for example, people like Harry Belafonte, or some people might say John Legend or Kanye West or Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson. How many people know Paul Robeson is? Paul Robeson, Emperor Jones, Paul Robeson. Okay, Paul Robeson, Josephine Baker. Oh, even Louis Armstrong. You know, he said, oh, I could go to hell. You don't have no kids down in Little Rock, Arkansas. Give it there for Louis Armstrong in Little Rock 9. Okay, anyway, so who the hell is that? All right, let's make it simple. I said I'm an artist, and let me see, I'm an author too. I write books too. You know, you got to do your little hustle. I'm from Memphis. We hustle and flow it. You know how it go. You know, it's hot out here for an artivist. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, this is my book right here. Here's my first book I wrote. It's called James Reese Europe, Jazz Lieutenant. And James Reese Europe was a real brother. He actually was one of the first people, one of the first African Americans to play Carnegie Hall. He was the first black person to lead troops in the battle during World War I. But he was, well, first and foremost, an artivist and a jazz musician. He started one of the early black musician unions in the country. Back in the turn of the last century in New York City, if you was a black musician in New York City, not only were you playing a gig at these clubs and places, but also you had to wash the dishes, cook the food, wait the tables, and still get paid less than the white musician, who all they had to do was just to play their instrument. So he changed all that. He organized the Brothers of New York, the Clef Club Orchestra, things of that nature. He was the hero of George Gershwin. How many people know who George Gershwin was? Porgy and Bess. So he used to listen to James Reese Europe play on the piano at this club called Baron Wilkes in Harlem when he was 7 years old. So that's another thing. But I mean, this guy was incredible. He really tried to advocate for black folks through music and organize people. He died real young at age 39. He was stabbed in the neck by his drummer because the drummer complained that he was, getting on his case for walking on and off stage doing performances. So he was just 39 years old when he died. But he's the reason why we know about W.C. Handy, the George Gershwins, the people of that nature. But this book I wrote and illustrated is on the Smithsonian Institute list for jazz books for young kids and adults. So this is back in 2005, and I say the best is yet to come. So I got this in my trunk and in my book. They're right here. And I'm an artist. I know you like Obama, so I do artwork and things of that nature. So I do a little bit of everything. I got cards on me, but that's all not even important right now. What is important right now, why in the hell am I on this panel with all these distinguished guests? Well, my thing is that I also use my talents, like I said, to affect social justice and change. I have a platform called the We All Be Group Incorporated. We officially became a nonprofit after Obama got on TV talking about the IRS scandal. It took almost a year to get the letter in the mail, but as soon as President Obama got on TV, the next day it was in the mail. And we got our official 501c3 status for We All Be Group Incorporated. But what I really do, what I'm interested in is how people are perceived. Brother Malcolm X once said that the media is the most powerful entity on earth. It can make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. And that's powerful because it influences the masses. So how you view yourself is not necessarily who you really are. How many people think they actually make choices where to go to eat?
Where they going to eat?
Yeah, where they eat. Or how many people think when you vote for somebody, you actually make the choice for the best candidate in your favor? So think about that, the choices that you are allowed to play with. But not only that, you think about the civil rights movement. We talk about how many people are familiar with Emmett Till. If it wasn't for the black press back in that day, with John H. Johnson, with Ebony and Negro Digest and things of that nature, getting that picture of Emmett Till out there to the world, there might not have never been a civil rights movement. If you think about all our greatest black leaders and stuff, they all knew the importance of controlling your image through the media. You think about Frederick Douglass, he had his newspaper, I believe the North Star. You think about Sister Ida B. Wells Barnett from Holly Springs, Mississippi, out in Memphis. She had her newspaper, the Free Speech and the Headlight, which was rare for a woman to be a journalist and also own her own newspaper. This is back in the 19th century. But she said it best. She said that there is no greater educator than the press. The people must be informed before they can act. Before you can act on anything, you should know as much information as possible that is allowed. For example, I truly believe that information is the currency of the universe. The most powerful entities in this world is built on information. Who is one of the most powerful men this country has ever seen? J. Edgar Hoover. He was the head of the FBI. What did he do before he became the head of the FBI? He cross-dressed, of course. We ain't talking about that. But what did he do before he became the head of the FBI? He worked at the Library of Congress organizing the archives. At the Library of Congress. He knew that information is key. For him to stay in power for over 50 years, he had to have information. Information is the advantage you have over everybody else. You use that for gambling, you use that in banking, you use that in anything. So information is the currency of the universe. To have good information, like my brother Dick Gregory says, to have good information is good power. To have bad information is bad power. But information is power nonetheless. So you got everything. Think about Marcus Garvey, United Negro Improvement Association. Marcus Garvey had his own paper. This before, like I always ask young people and people in general, what would Harriet Tubman be doing with Twitter right now? Exactly. You know, what would Ida B. Wells be doing with Instagram and Facebook? Exactly. You know, we laugh at it. What would Frederick Douglass be doing with Instagram? We laugh all that because what I'm saying is the revolution won't be televised, but it will be podcast, it will be Instagram, it will be Facebook, and it will be tweeted online. Everybody say it once again. The revolution will not be televised, but it will be podcast, it will be Instagram, it will be Facebook, it will be YouTube, and it will be tweeted online. Think about, could Trayvon Martin happen without social media? Could Jenna 6 happen without social media? Could Occupy Wall Street happen without social media? So you all out there, the citizens of this world, are the gatekeepers of information. It is up to you all to get the information out there required to improve your status and ability to navigate in this treacherous system that a lot of people don't really understand. This is a system of white supremacy that we operate in. I just want you to let y'all to know that. And the media is an important weapon in promoting the agenda of white supremacy. For example, people a lot of times look at the justice system. How many people think Zimmerman was going to walk before they heard the verdict? All right? But you think about it. People are like, I'm so surprised, I'm so shocked. Well, you don't. Take a look. It's in our book. Come on now. If you read, you know things happen in cycles and patterns. So history constantly repeats itself. But you got to understand this. Power and justice are two different things. Power is about the upkeep of the status quo. Power does not respect justice. If power submit to justice, they have no power. Power is about keeping stuff away from you, like Sister Margaret stated on poem, that is vital. If you don't vote, it don't matter, so don't cry. But not just voting, it's about participation in a system that was built against your success. So we got to understand that right now, that don't confuse the just us system with just this. And don't confuse power with your best interest. I made this just up on the spot, you know, just flowing. But hell, okay, let me think. Okay, well, you know, Ron, how can we find out the stuff you do? Well, our YouTube stuff, our podcast stuff, our Facebook. I'm trying to get into the Instagram, about to get into the LinkedIn. But be connected. The best way to stay current is to be on the scene, be accessible. You know, it's so important to have a presence, not only online, but offline, because people get it confused. Just because you create an online petition with 10,000 signatures, that ain't nothing but a damn propaganda tool. You know, that's not no real change, that's just propaganda. And while I do respect, marching and singing is just a way to advance attention on an issue. Dr. King, I don't care how great of a speaker he was, that didn't solve a lot of things just by speaking. It brought attention to the issues, but the real work that was going to be done went through what Sister Margaret always said, organize, organize, organize. Frederick Douglass said, agitate, agitate, agitate. How you wash your clothes is through agitation. Nobody likes a snitch, let the snitches snitching for them. Nobody likes an agitator unless the agitator is agitating and advocating for them. But understand the issues. Information will set you free. Education is about knowledge of self. You cannot have self-determination without knowledge of self. If your education did not teach you anything about where you come from, who you are, and where you're going, that's not a damn education. That's indoctrination. That's mental slavery. That's menticide. What the hell is menticide? Well, take a look. Is that all, Buck? Okay, I'm gonna stop. That's reading Rainbow. I'm dating myself, y'all. Come on. But don't take my word for it. Okay. Okay, I made a fool of myself. Thank you. How much more time I got? About 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, I'm good. Look at that. I don't even need a teleprompter. Take that, President Obama. But and further of all, I want to say, be the change you want to see. I remember reading something about Harriet Tubman. And Harriet Tubman, like the old folks back in the day, they always said, we're going to wait for the one. We're looking for the one. When a baby was born, is that the one? Why don't you all be the one? Why not you? If who, then? Charlie Parker, one of my greatest musicians, I love him, artist. Somebody said, well, Charlie Parker, y'all know who Charlie Parker is, right? No, y'all don't know who Charlie Parker is. Come on. Well, take a look. It's on YouTube. You know, you can listen to his music. Listen up. Okay. But Charlie Parker was asked, right before he died at a young age of 34, but he was a phenomenal jazz saxophone. He was a visionary. And somebody asked, well, Bird, how do you get so good? Were you born with a horn in your mouth? You know. And Bird said, well, no, Peter. Well, actually what happened was, for 4 years, I practiced for 10 to 15 hours a day on my saxophone. He practiced for 10 to 15 hours a day for 4 years on his saxophone. Think how magic, like they said, to master something, it takes 10,000 hours. Think about if you practice on anything for 10 to 15 hours a day, what do you think will happen? You can't help but be a master, right? Even against your own best interest. I hate myself. Well, you're a master anyway. You're a master. They also think about the media. They feed us self-hate 24/7 a day. You're a master of your own demise if you believe the lie. The official story most often is the official lie. Think about that. So while I'm telling you, you got the tools and resources. Why is it that folks who lived 100 years ago had more ambition to better their lot than people here today? Why is it that we have the tools necessary for our liberation and for our empowerment, but yet we don't have the mentality and the will to go with all to make it happen? Muhammad Ali once said, y'all know who Muhammad Ali is, right? The greatest of all times. Okay, he said, what did he say? He said, in order to be a great champion, your will must be greater than your skill. Do y'all have the will? It's not rhetorical. Do y'all have the will? Yes. Do you really have the will? Yes. Do you want it? Yes. Do you want it? Y'all don't want it. Do you want it? Yes. Do you want it? Yes. Do you want it? Yes. We'll take it. I'm through.